Hello, 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 YouTube. How are you guys doing today? Welcome back for your next episode of Real Talk Therapy 101 with your girl, Ebony. And before we get started, y'all know I gotta find my little help with glasses. Of course, before we get started today, just a quick little overview of what we do here on the channel. In the event that someone new is joining us, we do have some new subscribers, so I want to thank you all for that. But here on Real Talk Therapy, we have real conversations about day-to-day life things that we encounter and go through and don't know how to get through what I call uncharted waters on our own. And it's mental health with a twist. Our mental health has to be looked at as importantly as we look at our physical health. And so sometimes it's just simply having a conversation, and that's what therapy is. Having a conversation about how you're feeling today, what's going on with you, and helping you to make sense of how you feel this way, why you feel this way, and what you can do to help yourself make it through those feelings and get on the other side of what's stopping you from reaching whatever goal you're trying to reach, from reaching sobriety, if that's what you're looking for reaching a new mindset, for feeling elevated, picking yourself up, depression, grief, any of those things. And we don't like to talk about it. A lot of people do not like the term mental health. They automatically assume, oh, I'm crazy, or you think I'm crazy, or something's wrong with me. It's not that. It's just your emotions are out of whack. And your response to them are out of whack. Just like when we're sick, we don't feel good. Everything is out of whack. And so if you're okay going to the doctor, the physical doctor, about your physical health, here on this channel, we want you to be okay with talking to someone about your mental health so that you can be more stable in your day-to-day activities. A little bit about me again. I am a certified alcohol and drug counselor, certified peer support specialist in the state of North Carolina. I am well versed in all things mental health related, from 12 core functions of receiving a referral to all the way through your aftercare. And we're going to go through that 1 week of what it looks like to go to a facility and actually go through receiving the treatment that you need to receive. Here on Real Talk Therapy, I use songs. We talk about higher powers, beliefs, whatever the religion you may have. I always refer to it as higher power, but I share interventions from the standpoint of my religious belief, not to come off on anybody or just, none of that, because I respect people, everything, whatever it is that you got going on. I'm here for you. And I call it uncharted waters because we end up going through things that we've never gone through before. And sometimes we don't know how to navigate. We simply put the paddles down and we quit going. Well, I want you all to stop stopping. You gotta keep going. Nemo, and it's all just keep swimming, just keep swimming. It's gonna be hard. Nothing worth having comes easy, and a peace of mind is priceless. Trust you me. And so I'll use real life scenarios with myself, movies, fables. I'm telling you, you'll have a good time here with us on Real Talk Therapy. And another thing that my husband and I do, we make custom t-shirts. So one of the things when you come on the channel, and I didn't start out this way, so it's real talk. You'll see me from the very first video, and all my ignorance, bliss ignorant to YouTube and recording and editing and all that cool stuff. But it's just real. I'm just real. I'm just me. And I came on initially kind of trying to figure my way through how to develop this channel. And, when my family, friends, loved ones, my support system, especially my husband, was just like, just be you. You calling it Real Talk Therapy, so just be you. So I'm just me. And I start out each session before we get started. You'll hear me call it a session. You'll hear me call it an intervention. You'll hear me call it a coping strategy. I get excited about this work. I love helping people. And it wasn't until I put myself in a position to receive help that I'm able to be here and give it back to you in ways that are a little more elementary and a little easier to understand, because sometimes we need it the way that we can relate to it. And so I encourage you to please go to the description of the page. You'll find the Real Talk Therapy email address. We are on IG. I got to start doing a little bit more on Instagram. I work full time, and so sometimes I'm early in the morning with videos, sometimes late at night, sometimes, midday, but I try to put content out 5 days a week because I am very, very, very big on self-care. So Saturday and Sunday are for me and my family. And, hopefully we can get to a place where maybe we can start doing some shorts on the weekend just for, self-care, but that's all coming down the line. So, with that being said, welcome anybody that's new. Glad to have you back. Those of you that have been with me from the very beginning, my day ones, and anybody that we're meeting and coming in contact along the way. So the other thing is I promote a t-shirt, and I usually try to wear a themed shirt for what we're discussing for the day. And this week on Real Talk Therapy, we went back to basics. That's right, back to basics, not back to the basics, because the basics could be what society and everybody else around you wants you to do. When you go back to basics, it's going back to your elementary, middle school, high school, early adulthood, and we're gonna close it out tomorrow with that late adulthood stage. And I bring these things to you from a philosopher's standpoint. But I give it to you in my level of understanding, and I hope it's an easier way for you to understand that all of our lives, we're going to be experiencing growing pains. And with growing pains, we have to find a level of comfortability for us, not what's comfortable for those around us, okay? So, Monday, we talked about elementary school and how we are back then. Tuesday, we went into middle school and how your boundaries, those basic things around you, have to change with each stage of life. Yesterday we went to high school, and so today we've graduated. We've graduated from high school, or if you dropped out, you're at that age and you've made it through high school and you were making the decision of what to do with your life. And if you didn't finish high school, during this stage of life, early adulthood is considered from 18 till about 35 or so. And then middle adulthood, for most psychiatrists and psychologists, they're all different. You get different time periods, but we're going to cover early adulthood, so from about 18 to 35, and then we're going to go from 35 to 65, which is considered middle adulthood, and then from 65 and older is considered, late adulthood, not middle age, but I don't like to label anything, so I'm gonna just call it the golden years. So today we're focusing on, we graduated from high school and we made a decision on what we're gonna do with our lives. So our t-shirt for today says Grownish. And I'm pretty sure some of you have seen that TV show, and right up under that is the Real Talk Therapy. And when you go back to basics, in school, when we're repeating some stuff, it's called 101. You're starting it for the first time, you're looking at it for the first time, and sometimes we have to go back in order to understand what's going on with us in our future. So in addition to a shirt of the day, I love Coach, for those of you that are new. And so I showcase a bag of the day. And today's bag is a simple fanny pack type style. Some people call them belt bags. I don't put this through the loops of my belt. I put it around my waist. And because I try to be cool for a 45-year-old, 46-year-old, Lord. Because I try to be cool for my age, I sometimes slant it, sometimes I go across the top with it, sometimes across the back. But at any rate, this little baby holds so much stuff and can substitute for a purse. It's one of the bags I carry a lot when we're traveling. Everything, easy access is right there for me to get. And I also showcase my shoes for the day. So yesterday I kind of went down like this. So, and if, you know, like I said, y'all, your girl learning, so I appreciate the patience with it. My shoes for the day, multicolored Vapor Max. I call these my Rainbow Brights because Rainbow Bright was an old cartoon back in my day. And we're going to talk about her one day too. Some characteristics of Rainbow Bright from the mental health standpoint. So, at any rate, we ready now. We done turned 18. We can go in the store and buy some cigarettes if that's what we want. We can go to the club if it's 18 or older. There are some things we can now do that we could not do in our high school, elementary, and middle school courses, of course. And so when we're going back to basics, if you are able to recall how life was for you at this time, now you're expected to start behaving like an adult. But you're still dealing with those growing pains in your mind that you had that you couldn't quite understand when you were going through it. And that was because our minds, our bodies, everything is developing all the time. And with each phase of life, we're going through so much and we don't know how to manage it. And like I ended on yesterday's note sharing that it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I realized some of the characteristics that I developed when I started setting my boundaries in high school, I carried it over into early and middle adulthood. So, you know, at the tender age of 46, I'm considered middle-aged. My body goes through changes. I be sweating and it's 50 degrees outside. But I go to the doctor and they say, oh, you're not going through menopause or any of that stuff. Well, I'm going through something because it's cold outside and here I am sweating and I'm hot. And, you know, your body as females, it's just, we go through the most with our actual physical growing pains and the different things that we experience. And so, you know, some of you all are mothers, you've had babies, so you know what your body does when you're carrying a child. And you're going through all these different things. And here you are expected to go out here and behave as though you've done this before. No, I just got here. I just graduated and I chose to go to this 4-year university. And I personally made a choice to go as far away from my hometown as I could get. I wanted to go to a school that none of my friends were going to. I wanted to experience everything brand new because from elementary to primary to high school, I saw some of the same faces. My town is only but so big. And I had some interesting experiences. But now I want something new. Plus, I wanted to get as far away from my mom as I could because I'm in college, you know, and I might want to experience some things and I don't want her trying to tell me you got to be in that dorm by this time or that time. I'm grown-ish, actually, because the first week of school, baby, up there in that dorm room, going in that community shower, when my mama left me, I did not cry. But 2 or 3 days later, I got in that community shower. I had a roommate, and I'm still cool with my freshman year roommate to this day. Now, mind you, I remember me telling y'all I'm the only girl, and I'm the oldest. So I was accustomed to having my own room. I didn't share my personal space. So now I'm going through a growing pain that I never experienced before. I got to share a side of a room with somebody that I don't even know. But she turned out to be one of the coolest people I've ever met in the world. But I quickly learned after that freshman year, nah, baby, I need a single room. So I didn't have a roommate. I had suite mates, but I didn't have a roommate, you know, moving after that. But I got in that community shower and the realization of my mama is 5 hours away from me. Even though I had an aunt and uncle right across the line in Virginia, one of my uncles was in the Navy. And I, you know, when hurricanes and things came, they were right there. And I ended up meeting a group of females. Remember now, I told you it wasn't many. It might have been 6 that became my forever friends. We built a bond and we became a family. I experienced so much in college. I joined a sorority. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Delta Chi Spring 98. And I experienced so many different things, but I always remembered the boundaries. I always remembered the things that, if I'm going to do it, you got to count up the costs and figure out what could happen if something goes wrong. I had to remember that it's going to take my mama 5 hours to get here. My aunt and uncle probably about 45 minutes, but still, I had to remember that. And I was blessed that some people from my hometown went to the same school. So I had a little bit of home, and they were older, and that was good for me because they became a part of my village and helped mold me at this time when I'm going through these growing pains. Needless to say, I didn't bother to play no sport. I didn't join no club other than, joining the sorority. That was about all that I did. But if it was a gym jam going on, you better believe your girl was there. Now I went to class every day. This is a time in life where I didn't have to get up and go to class, but because I could make my own schedule, I went every day. Now, I was no good at budgeting any type of little income I had. I had a lady that went to church with me, Sister Agnes McClendon, Lord rest her soul, part of my village. But every Friday, I could go to my P.O. box, and there was a check for $25. And I said one time I was going to sit down and add up just how much of a sacrifice she made for me to have what my husband would call walk around money in my pocket while I was in school. There were so many people that just invested in me. And when the time came to receive this degree that I had worked so hard to, to receive, my family came from all parts of the world to celebrate that triumph with me because your girl made it. I didn't get arrested. I didn't have a baby. I didn't get into any major trouble. But I did experience some things in college that I did not experience in high school. So, I had a fight in college, and it usually was one fight. And that was only because, remember, I hadn't quite developed my voice yet. So I'm letting people rah at me. And the more you're talking, the madder I'm getting. And as you guys get to know me, my father's name was Steve Allen Patterson. And anybody that knows him knows he had a low tolerance for anything. So my mom, my girl Shirley D, same thing. They didn't have a tolerance for anything. So I am a combination of that TNT. And I'm very, very calm and quiet. But once I've had enough, your girl was a swinger. I ain't want to hear it. You yapping. And if you ain't going to shut up, you see I'm not arguing with you. We're going to go ahead and fight. So I'm going to go ahead and get the first lick because I don't look to win every fight. And I think that's one of the realest things about me. I don't walk around here like, oh, I could beat the world physically or what have you. Now, needless to say, now at this age, I don't fight. Hopefully, I don't have to fight ever again. But if we were going to fight, I'm going to figure out how to have the upper hand in the fight. Because I'm going to fight you win or lose. And I wasn't afraid to lose. And that was a good characteristic to have, but I didn't know how to develop it, back in those days. And so I carried that stuff through graduating from college, moving back home, relationships that went up and down and trying to find myself and, came back home to a community of people who helped me with my first job, getting into the school system. And so you guys heard me run down before everything that I set my sights out to do. Thus far, I have been able to do. And I'm very thankful and grateful for that, for those that supported me in all those endeavors. So I wanted to be a teacher because I had an uncle that taught, 2 aunts that taught, and that was one of my favorite games to play when my brothers would play with me. So I became a teacher. I was teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but I was young. I was 20 when I graduated from college. So I was 21, turned 21 and got on this job, and I'm still going to the clubs. I'm still kind of hanging out. I'm single. I got my, everything's going on, but I was still living with my mama. So her rules didn't change. So when I got my first little paycheck, without thinking about anything, I moved out. It took the whole paycheck to move out. And the next one, I went and got a car and all these different things. But when I moved out, I have, as you'll hear people say all the time, I ain't have a pot to piss in, but I had a window to throw it out of. So that's all I was concerned about. I got my own window. So if I got to piss in the pot, I got a window. Or, yeah, well, I ain't have to piss in the pot, but just that analogy of it. And then, of course, the next month, because I only got paid once a month, I furnished my little place, but I did everything on my own. I had support along the way, and I had people giving me advice, but in those days, I was one of those folks that thought they knew it all, but didn't know nothing at all. And so in those phases, even going into that, I spent my 20s kind of searching for and looking for what I wanted and who I wanted to be and how I wanted to do that. And early on, I got out of a really, really tough, rough relationship. Didn't talk about it with anybody, because I didn't have the voice to talk. I just figured out how to get out of it and move on. And then I met my now husband. And man, if we could do some of that stuff that we've done all over again, I would do it the exact same way as long as I could do it with him. We had a ball, and 31 when we got married. So I'm still in this early adulthood and not knowing how to be a wife, just knowing what I heard, what I saw. But we grew and learned together what those vows meant to each other and what it meant for us to really, really be friends and take care of each other. So I got to learn and bond with him through all the other ups and downs that were going on around me, through all the mess that I was dealing with when I went to work, when I was at church, when I was dealing with, I was just in all these different things. Family was a big thing for me, but I was putting myself out there as a superwoman. And remember, Grandma told me, hey, we don't want to try to emulate somebody that does not exist. There is no superwoman. And so when we're in this early adulthood stage, you go through so many growing pains and you think you've grown, but there's that little ish to it because you still run into things. I was still in the mindset that I knew everything. I ain't need nobody to tell me nothing. I got it. I know. You don't know. This is my life. I'm smart. I got a degree. Man. And I can tell you one thing. I'm grateful for the cheerleaders that stood by me while I put all of that out there. All because I had never had a voice and I wasn't in tune with what I needed to say, who I needed to say it to, and how I needed to deal with it. So if I got mad at work, I might come home and take it out on my household. For what? Because nobody in my house had done anything to me. I didn't know how to sit down and talk things through. I didn't know how to sit down and communicate without being passive and or aggressive or passive aggressive. I didn't know how to do it because I also was not teachable. I thought those 4 years at Elizabeth State University was all I needed. And somewhere in that time frame, I think it was 2014, 2015, I'm not sure, because we got married in 2009. But I got my first master's degree in public administration. And, you really couldn't tell me nothing. Because I had these pieces of paper that sometimes you can see in the background. I still haven't even framed or hung up. Because now I know that's simply what they are, pieces of paper. Real experience comes with living your life, going out here and doing these jobs, going out here and facing your fears, going out here and doing what you need to do. And then when roadblocks come in early adulthood, instead of me trying to figure out how to fix stuff that I've messed up, I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know how to say I had messed up because remember, I'm grown-ish. I'm grown, so I should be able to fix it. But that's not the reality of your life. You aren't able to fix everything. Remember, the glass that's breaking is going to be shattered into 1,000 different pieces. These two hands will get cut, blistered, bruised. But if I just ask for help and somebody say, okay, I'm going to hold the dustpan, you get the broom. Then we might need somebody else in here because even though we're sweeping, we might miss something that shattered and went back this way. And that, in mental health, is called continuity of care. One provider may not be able to treat you in all the areas that you need help in because you thought because you were a certain age in number that you had it. No, you don't. Especially when you encounter something that you've never encountered before. This is new. So let me stop and first process what I'm going through. Let me recognize that I need some help and talk to somebody who's been here before. Let me sit down and hear instead of running my mouth. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Now, that's a cliche I won't even mess with. I've never skinned a cat, but I'm willing to bet there's more than one way to do it. And the reason why I'm saying that to you today is I had to learn there was more than just the way that I knew how to do stuff to do stuff. There are other ways. There are other ways. When you think outside the box, it means get out of your way of thinking and hear somebody else's way. Not saying you got to follow it and do it, because remember, you got to march to the beat of your own drum, but it's okay to hear how somebody else is handling something that you're dealing with. And that's what group therapy is for. And if you come in and you don't quite feel okay about sharing what you're going through, just come in and listen. And there's two types of listening: reflective listening and active listening. And with both, you have to close out everything else that's swimming around in your head, including your attitude, your way of thinking, what you want to say. You got to listen. I not ask questions to listen, because the one way that I'm doing it or the one way that I'm looking at it, it ain't working. So I want to know what you do. And we don't need to ask nobody a question if we are not willing to listen. And so it's never too late as we go back to basics to kind of go back and look at, okay, when you were 21, you used to write out your goals, or when you were 18 or whatever it was, you wrote out your goals. And when you wrote them down, you had something to go back and physically look at. You had something to check off. And you know what, Eb? You reached everything that you said you wanted to do back then. When did you stop writing? When did you stop going back? When did you stop being consistent with what was working for you? Why did you stop? And those are hard questions. But you don't have to answer them by yourself. You don't have to deal with it by yourself. And sometimes just talking about something and sounding it out, we usually can come up with a resolution. And that's what it's all about in early and middle adulthood. Finding resolutions to things that we come up against. Because remember, there's nothing new under the sun. You come back up against some of these things. And I am the first person to say that if it's anybody out here in this world that dislikes me or has a problem with me, check yourself. Because I don't have a problem with nobody. Not a soul. If there's something I don't like about you, I don't fool with you. And if I ain't fooling with you, don't be mad. Find something else to do. Let me live. I'll let you live. It's okay. I don't always have to be the bigger person. And I used to feel like I did. I don't always have to be the peacekeeper or the peacemaker. No. Some of the stuff I got involved in had absolutely nothing to do with me. And I inserted myself. So when my feelings got hurt, when relationships got messed up, when my name got put out there and people lied and did all this other stuff, I couldn't be mad with nobody but myself because I inserted myself into those situations. Stay clear. Stay out the way. It's cool out the way. It's cool out the way. And, people are going to wonder, like I said, I know that it'll be folks that will eventually hear that I'm on this platform and will come on and have so much to say. And, oh, girl, did you see her? She on here or what have you. Boo, be okay. You do it too. Just be okay. We have to stop allowing what goes on around us to affect what's going on inside of us. Because when people get in your head, I'm telling you, it's hard to climb out of that, because eventually you'll start believing the hype. Don't believe it. You're in a place now where you should be mature enough to let yesterday be yesterday. You cannot go back and change any of that. But what you can do is work towards changing tomorrow and work towards figuring out how and what you have to do to make that change for tomorrow. What you can do is start developing your own individual self so that when you get ready to embark upon your golden years, you got it. You really living in peace and in harmony. And having peace is power. And the minute we give people our peace, the minute that we give people power over us, that's when you mentally become so messed up, you don't know who you are. And it ain't got to have nothing to do with a diagnosis of multiple personalities. All it is all your emotions are jacked up. And in this moment, I don't know how to respond. Fight or flight. What you fighting for? What you fleeing for? It's all right. It's okay. And the hardest thing is to be able to forgive yourself. And I always say, my family, they hear me say it all the time when I say, why are we doing? We too big for this. Not too old. We too big. Because at our age, we should already know better, but yet we're still acting juvenile. Why? For what? You got to count up your costs and consider everything that's going on around you and take that ish off and be grown. Now, do grown people disagree? Yes. But you don't hear nothing about no 40, 50. Well, yeah, we do. I was getting ready to say, you don't hear nothing about no grown people out here fighting. I know when we were coming up, I don't ever recall my mom and them, if they got into fights, physical fights or whatever, stuff like that, we never saw it. But today, it's so much going on out there today that I can't really speak on it. But in my circle, in my family, in my tribe, we ain't out here fist fighting. For what? Now, don't try it. But we just ain't doing it. It ain't no need. For what? Say what you say. Feel how you feel. Because we are letting it roll off our back over here. You ain't stopping nothing that we got going on because we're not allowing it to. You get what you allow. And so when it's time to change, when it's time to recreate these boundaries in early adulthood and middle adulthood, you have the autonomy to be flexible and change as often as you need to. It's okay. It's okay. Just stay within the confines of your boat. Stay on your course. Because the minute that you get off course, the minute you get out your boat, now you trying to get through some waters you ain't never got through before, but you want to get off your boat and go help somebody else. No. Fill your own vessel first. And that's why next week, and thanks to a really good colleague and friend of mine, she's like, look, I done looked at every video. I need to know about self-care. And I talk a little bit about it, but we're going to go through that thing next week because I need for you to know what it looks like so you can identify it for yourself. Because if I can't get through these uncharted waters that I'm in, how in the heck am I going to get off my boat and abandon my boat and try to help somebody else? Because I haven't been through their uncharted waters either. Can't pour from an empty vessel. That's another cliche that you won't hear me switch up, try to change it, because you can't pour from an empty vessel. It's empty. There's nothing to pour out. And we sit around waiting for other people to pour into us. For what? Get up and fill your own cup. Get up and tell yourself all the things that you want somebody else to tell you. You start and command how your day is going to go. You. And at least it's something in your vessel when you go out here and encounter other people that if you really want to pour it out, you got a little something to pour out. But you got to start pouring in there first. You matter. And you got to matter to you more than you look to see if you matter to somebody else. And we're going to get into that a whole lot when we talk about relationships and friendships and how to build healthy relationships. But we're in that phase of adulthood and middle adulthood. And so that's why we were just a tad bit longer. So for those of you that are new, I try to keep each video within the 30-minute range, simply because I know my attention span is only so long, and I don't care how good something is. Sometimes I end up doing something else, and I don't want you guys to miss the key things that you need to start getting through your uncharted waters. And I'm so grateful that you have chosen to join me on Real Talk Therapy 101 so I can help you. Hand me a paddle. I want to help. I'm still in uncharted waters now. So if what you need is something that I can't help you with, I know some really great licensed clinical social workers already. I know some really great licensed professional counselors. I know some really great licensed clinical addiction specialists that can do a little more. Their scope of treatment is a little higher than mine. And I don't mind referring you to someone else. But if it's in my vessel, I'm ready to pour. So if you're ready to receive, please reach out. And thank you so much again for joining and coming on and making this everything that we need it to be so that we can reach the global heights of helping one another this day and age. Because if our minds ain't right, ain't nothing else right. And real talk, not being able, you can literally lose your mind. You can lose your mind. It's possible. If you don't get help with everything that you're dealing with. You can lose your life if you don't learn how to handle some of the information that you receive. And so I just want you all to know that I appreciate you. Thank you so much for stopping by. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow as we wrap up this week's series of Back to Basics. Remember your basics, because sometimes you got to go back to them lessons you learned before you got here, to help you to get to that next era. We got a lot of living to do. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to shorten anything that I can have because I don't want to simply sit down and have a real talk conversation with somebody about how I'm feeling. It's quite all right, and I'm here for you. And thank you guys so much for stopping by. See you tomorrow.